Okay, Cashtook Bowcraft here today, and what I thought I would do today is show you guys how I go about putting rawhide on the back of the bow. This is some rawhide that was sent to me by my friend Caesar at Legionnaire Archery. If you guys want a nice bow, call Caesar. He makes some great looking bows, and he sells all this kind of stuff, rawhide, sinew. So if any of you guys want to buy any of that raw material to back your bows, give him a call. He's a good guy and he'll get it out to you right away. Anyway, so this is a bow that I'm going to be backing. It's a hickory longbow. The client that I'm making this for requested that I back it with rawhide, and I think that's a good idea since he's got a 30-inch draw length. And this is a 68-inch bow, which will work, but having that extra insurance will help keep the back of this bow intact, and hopefully it won't break on him in the future. So basically what I do is when I'm preparing a bow, you know, I sand down the back of the bow with some like 60 grit sandpaper, make it a little bit rough. And then what I do when I have the time, I'll put masking tape along the sides of the bow, and that way, you know, when we're gluing it on, if the glue should run off the sides, peeling the tape off is a lot easier than peeling the glue off. So that's what I do, because I do use a lot of glue, and it does overflow on the lens. So after years of doing this, I decided that putting the masking tape on there is a lot easier. But anyway, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be sizing the surface of this bow, and basically that is just to put down a thin layer of glue. And I'm going to turn the camera off right now and get that set up and show you step one of backing the bow with rawhide. Okay, I don't know if you can see this or not. Hopefully you can. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use some regular Tite Bond glue, wood glue. You can use hide glue, which is what I typically use when I put sinew on the bow. But in this case, I'm just going to use regular Tite Bond. The hide glue, if water or moisture got underneath here, could delaminate the backing, because hide glue is you know, comes off with water. So I'm just going to put some Tite Bond 2 on here, and it's reasonably waterproof, and it'll do just fine. So basically what I do, I just run a little bead of glue along the back of the bow here. And then I'll just spread it with my fingers. And you just want to get a thin coat so that any glue, so that when the wood soaks in the glue, you won't have any dry spots when you glue on the rawhide. What'll happen is wherever the wood soaks in the glue, it'll pull it into the wood, and you'll be able to see where that happened. You'll be able to put a little bit more glue. It makes a better bond when you do it this way. So I'm just spreading out this thin layer. Make sure you get it over the edges as well. I think I might have put just a little bit too much, but that's okay. We'll just let it dry. I want to make sure that the back is clean, free of any grease or oils. because obviously that will prevent the glue from bonding as well. And then once you get that thin layer of glue on there, you just let it dry. You just let it dry, and then when you put on the actual coat of glue, the glue will bind to itself and make a better bond. You won't have any dry spots where the wood has soaked in the glue, and it'll bond better. So there you go. When this stuff dries, I'll turn it back on, and then this rawhide has been soaking for probably about 20 minutes or so. It's pretty pliable. When you get it, it's really stiff and dry, and when you soak it in the warm, lukewarm water, it'll get pliable and easy to work with, and you'll be able to lay it on the bow and put it on the bow and glue it on. So always make sure you soak your rawhide. All right, so we're just going to let this dry for a bit, and then I'll turn on the video when it's done. Then we'll show you what we do next. Okay, so we're back. The glue looks like it's tacky, and that's just fine. It's all right if it's a little bit tacky. So what we're going to do is take out the rawhide. And one thing that I did that I don't normally do, I just did it because I wasn't thinking and I made a mistake, is I went in and sized the entire bow. Usually you want to do half first, because when you have to wrap it, you want to be able to clamp the bow down, at least the other half of the bow, so you can wrap it. Or at least the way that I do it, I usually just do half first and the other half. But in this case we did the whole bow, so I'll have to figure something out how I'm going to hold it down while I'm wrapping it. But anyway, you just get the rawhide out of the water here, and you just lay down a piece of paper towel and dry it off as best as you can. Dry off the rawhide as best as you can. It's going to hold a little bit water, but you just want to get all the excess water off of it. Make sure this piece is long enough. Let's see here. Here's the other piece. When you buy the rawhide, it typically comes in two pieces, so you can do a longer bow. This second piece is the one that I want. This one is just as long as it needs to be. Okay, so I got to dry off this piece here. Let's get all the excess water off. I'm going to put this piece back in because I don't really need it right now. Just keep it in there. Okay, so this is pretty dry now. It's pretty, I got all the excess water off of it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how I'm going to apply it to the bow. And I'm going to clamp this bow down so I can have enough room around it so I can wrap it. Because you got to wrap the rawhide to be able to hold it down onto the limb while it dries. So I'm going to turn the camera off and get this bow clamped down somehow and turn it back on when I'm ready. Okay, before I glue this rawhide on, what you want to do as well is size the back of or size the rawhide as well. That way there won't be any glue that gets soaked into the rawhide itself. Will be just like what it does with the wood, and you'll have a better bond. The rawhide, when you get it, there's a rough side and a smooth side, I should say the hair side and the internal side. And you know, I don't find any difference in which side goes down on the bow. But in this case, I'm putting the rough side down on the bow because the rough side will, you know, it's the same thing as sanding the bow down. Will create a little bit of better bond as well, and gives more surface air, or you know, it'll help the glue stick to the bow. But usually, I don't even worry about which side I'm putting it on. I just do it so the side that looks the best is on the outside, because that's what I'm looking for. And I haven't had a rawhide bow come apart on me yet. So, but in this case, I'm putting the hair side down on the bow because I like the way the back side or the inside looks. It's nice and brownish color, and it's smooth because I'm going to be painting a design on the back of this bow too. So I'm just going to leave this glue here to dry a little bit, and while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to go ahead and put down a bead of glue on the bow. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put down some glue on this bow so that we can glue on that piece of rawhide. And it's good to leave a limb sticking out this way because when you wrap it, it's much easier to wrap it when the limb is sticking out. Now, I don't overdo it with the glue, but I make sure that there's enough on there to spread around. It's going to get a little messy, but it's better to have just a little bit more glue, too much glue than not enough. Make sure you get all the edges and every little piece of wood where you want that rawhide to stick. Okay, so got the glue on here. Now we're ready to put this piece of rawhide on. I'll make sure that it's reasonably centered on the bow. You don't want to have any of the limb showing. Make sure it's on there. Make sure it's flat. And you want to make this end come to the middle of the bow because it's going to be wrapped over with a piece of, with your handle material, your grip material anyway. And you just stretch it on. Just make sure that it's nice and tight. You don't want any air bubbles in there or anything like that. Also too, when the rawhide dries, it'll shrink. So that's a good thing. Okay, so I've got the rawhide on here. You don't have to rush it, you know, the glue's not going to dry instantly, so you got time to move the thing around just to make sure it's where you want it to be. Now it's ready to wrap. And basically what I usually use Ace bandage, because Ace bandage has little holes in it that allows air to get in through the tape, and allows the bow to dry. This tape here doesn't have any holes or openings. There's some real small holes, but it's not really the best stuff to use. It's just all I had at the moment, so I'm using it. So basically what I do, I just start at one end. This is why you have to have one of the limbs hanging off, because it makes it a lot easier. And I just start wrapping. Make sure that your the edges are tucked under or to the sides of the bow, because you don't want them to come over and then glue, wrap it on that way. So you're just going to wrap the bow, and it helps it, the rawhide to stay flat as it's drying. And as you're going along, squeeze out any air bubbles that might be present. Make sure that you're wrapping it evenly around the limb. It's not a difficult process to do as far as putting rawhide on the bow. I've probably been working on this for about not even 10 minutes or so. It's just like with anything else. You get it done, then it takes forever to wait, because I hate waiting. But anyway, sorry about that. The camera died on me. I ran out of memory, so I had to take the videos off of this camera, and now I'm back. But anyway, so here's the wrapped limb. I've got the bow turned around in the vise, so I'm going to do this limb now. But I just wanted to show you how this limb looks now that it's done. And then what you want to do is just squeeze out, because there will be some in there. Just make sure that periodically you squeeze out any air bubbles and any excess glue that might be present in the bow, just to make sure that that piece of rawhide is flat down on the bow. So now we're going to do this side, and I'll turn the camera on. You know what, I guess I'll just turn the camera on when I get done. It's the same as this side, so you won't be missing anything. Okay, so the bow is completely wrapped, both limbs, and we're just going to wait for the rawhide to dry. I went and squeezed out whatever air bubbles and excess glue. But one thing I do is I'll lay the bow flat on the ground with the back side down. I'll just stand on it just to make sure that there are no air bubbles in the limb. Be careful, because you obviously don't want to crack your bow or damage it, but this is how I do it. And it gets that rawhide on there pretty well. Okay, you can see some of the glue squeezing out the ends, but that's fine. So there you go. We'll just wait overnight and take it off, and hopefully everything will take. What you want to do is periodically just come by and press down on the limbs to, again, just make sure that any air bubbles that may have formed will be driven out. And it should be cool. We'll unwrap this thing tomorrow and show you how it looks.